And it's always a real great privilege to work with Frog, because as an organisation, you know, the vision and values of the organisation really shine through. The session's got hybrid learning, reasons to be cheerful, 1, 2, 3. But how do I actually follow all these amazing presentations from Nikki Taylor to Booker Youssef to the panel discussion with Sophie and Nick's opening session? I really can't follow it, but what I can do is say that so many of the messages really give me so much hope for the future when it comes to the learning that happens in our schools across the world. And one of the things that was central to our conversations when we were shaping the event today was about bringing stories together. And hopefully we've been able to do that and brought together loads and loads of stories from schools and teachers from around the world to help you think about how you're going to be sort of moving things forward with teaching for learning come September. And it was great to hear Kate's discussions around the plans for the future up in Manchester as well. So what is hybrid learning? Well, actually, there is no one-size-fits-all thing. We know this. Some people have been talking today about there being no silver bullets in education, and clearly that's absolutely the case. It's all about your context. You can't take what works in one school and apply it directly to what works in your school. But we can see there's some consistent sort of tenets of what does actually work. But going back to the Bananarama principle that I mentioned in the chat earlier, it's not so much what you do when it comes to your technology and your teaching for learning. It's the way that you do it, and the choices you make again relate back to directly to your context in your school. Lots of us have heard these terms asynchronous and synchronous, but hybrid learning is actually that thing where we blend those things together, and hybrid learning is often sort of has that term blended learning in there as well. And they're very much of a similar sort of a nature when you bring these two things together. And a polar approach we found during lockdown, where you have either one approach or the other approach, has tended to not be very successful. And so thinking carefully about how you blend these things together is much more likely to bring wins and things for you. And something that's really central to that, and that's been again resonated and really echoed through in nearly all of the presentations today, it goes to that really important triangulation between parents, the school and the child, and that wrapper we can put around there. It was really great to hear. You know, I mentioned in the chat earlier about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we saw that in loads of the presentations. From Nick's presentation right at the start of the day, where he was talking about providing structure. With structure comes confidence. We know what we're supposed to be doing, when we're supposed to be doing it, all those sorts of things. And providing those base level needs to provide security and structure and clarity for our children and our families enables them to actually plan what they need to do in order to best support their children. And that's been really great to hear echoed again and resonating through in lots of the conversations and we've heard over the course of the day. And obviously with that, students are much more likely to flourish and succeed than they otherwise would without that structure. So hybrid learning involves lots of things. I've mentioned some of the things that have been discussed elsewhere, but we've seen key themes across the whole day of things such as community, well-being, safeguarding. It was great hearing the conversation from Kate in the panel discussion with Sophie and Nick about how they were going about safeguarding, and it's so important to make sure we look after our young people in that regard. Also thinking about that rounded education with extracurricular and leadership being so central to all of that, and learning being at the heart of absolutely everything. If you've seen me present before, you often will have seen me having these sorts of recipes for success. And so I've brought these different categories across. And if we can have these sorts of things in place, then we're really looking to hopefully have this rounded education, which is so important in all of our schools, to provide a really great learning opportunity and experience for our learners and supporting our families and parents and guardians at home. And if we miss some of these things out, if we forget learning, then obviously we failed. If there's no leadership, there's anxiety and no clarity around what we're trying to actually achieve. If you don't bring in things around extracurricular and supporting things, I saw in the chat a few moments ago, someone commented about how most of their work, I think it was Kate actually, a lot of their emails came in outside of normal teaching hours. And without the extracurricular things and the support around all that, we miss opportunities. And without safeguarding, there's danger. How do we know that our young people are safe online? And without thinking about well-being, then there's that real issue around stress and mental health, not just for our students, but for our teachers as well. We need them to be at our very, very best. And that quote from Bookie earlier was absolutely key to that, from her head teacher, which I tweeted earlier as well. And if we don't involve the whole community, then how can we actually expect engagement from all of our key stakeholders? It's so important to consider these things and look at what we can miss out. If we miss one of these things, then we're not going to be doing very well. If we miss a few of these things, then it's really not going to work very well for us. And there's been so many amazing takeaways from the day today. What a difference a day makes. Hopefully you're going to walk away from the session today, the conference today, with oodles of ideas and things that you can try and implement into your school day come September. Keeping parents in the loop, how that took place at Finton House. We heard from Katie Cousins, Adrian Tate at GOSFORTH Academy with his wellbeing approaches there. And as we heard from Matt Holly at River Tees Matt as well. And I'm a bit disappointed actually, Adrian, because things seem to be going quite well with my presentation. As I said in the chat, I quite like it when things don't go quite right. Just so we can model, as Kate said, what we can do when things don't go quite right. But you modeled it so well, Adrian, because you just persevered and a solution was found with support from the team, from Graham, sorry, and it really, really worked well. So thank you so much for your presentation, Adrian. Taking every lesson online from Keith Peary, seeing what was going on at the British School of Paris as well, and what we heard from Kate around safeguarding, keeping all those things in place, absolutely amazing. 50 things to do is something that I absolutely love as well. And actually, you know, it's 50 things to do before you're 5. I'd struggle to do those 50 things before I'm 50, which is many, many, many years away, obviously. But continuing with these themes, there are so many great takeaways from the day. I've mentioned Nick's presentation first up this morning, what we learned about teaching and learning and those evidence-informed approaches. It was, again, really, really positive to hear Nick talking about dual coding, Kate sharing about cognitive load earlier. These are all great things to take away about how we can best support our teachers with their work of teaching our young people. Because actually, going back to that banana principle, it isn't so much what you do. Great technology use doesn't have to be all bells and whistles and singing and dancing. It's actually simple stuff, and that, you know, doing a few things really, really well that can make the biggest amount of difference. That marginal gains approach. Thank you too to Sophie. This is the conversation that happened earlier with Kate and Nick. The beauty of being the last person on is I can actually take some screenshots and include some of the things that I've been seeing over the course of the day in my presentation as well. But what else have we seen under lockdown? Well, community. Lots and lots of us today are users and good users and regular users and have been for many years of social media and Twitter. But a community thing that I wanted to share with you, and why is this session reasons to be cheerful? Well, it's not just the great things we've seen across the day today. We see it all over the place, happening all of the time. Education is a force for good, and there is more that unites us than divides us. Here we are today, we're learning and sharing together. We're giving up time, most of us, during our actual school summer holidays. And we are stronger together. And we see that by the bucket load. Here's somebody that I want to do a big shout out for. This is Nick Corsten. He runs loads of community events around art and STEAM and creativity, and I believe Nick's joined us during the session today. And when Glastonbury was cancelled, what did he do? Well, he set up his own virtual Glastonbury event. And here's a short video of that with some conversations in here with the Kemp brothers from Spandau Ballet.
And I was standing in a toilet in a Berlin bar, and so we saw Spandau Ballet together. And one of us said, "That'd make a good name for a band."
Hi, I'm Lenny.
Love you.
I love you too.
And that was the pre-festival mainstay.
I'm looking forward to what we're going to do with all that cardboard. My mum and dad sent me across the road, joined me into this drama club, and it literally changed my life. 2 evenings a week, 10p a lesson.
But it worked by demystifying art. So where's gold?
There's like a high prison wall, souls keep going in spite of it all.
Yeah, that took place. It wasn't the real Glastonbury pyramid stage. That was, as you might have sort of picked up and realised from some of the stills and little clips from the video there, this was actually done with green screening, the pyramid stage there. But by doing this, Nick brought together people from all over the world to share and have a replacement Glastonbury event. Education is such a fantastic industry and profession to be involved in. It brings out the best of us, I think. And we've seen the best of this under the most difficult of situations. Bookie did a big shout out for school leaders at the end of her presentation. I'll do a huge, massive thanks and shout out, not just to school leaders, but teachers who've been giving it their all for months and months and months and months. How many are still working now? And here we are on in our summer holidays, and we're all still coming together. So a big shout out for Nick there, and to all teachers. And we see these things being shared all over the place. Bookie shared earlier the UK EduStories show that we do on a Thursday night, 7 p.m. on YouTube. We had an episode, Bookie shared one with Michelle Grant. I want to share a different one that we did with a focus on wellbeing, mindfulness and motivation for teachers under lockdown. We had Andrew Cowley on the show, the author of the Wellbeing Toolkit, a real fantastic book with loads of sage advice about supporting wellbeing within your school. We had Ollie Lewis, again, an international flavour to this show. We had Ollie Lewis, who's an assistant head teacher at a school in Abu Dhabi. We had Chandan Jha from Mumbai, sorry, engaging in the show as well. Teachers really do give above and beyond. I was talking in the chat just before I came on, Adrian mentioned in his presentation about, the expectation that teachers are available 24/7 for support. But what profession engages in their own professional learning and connecting and working together in those relationships? As much as we see from teachers using social media, we've seen a real explosion of teachers really doing it for themselves these last sort of 6 months, and it's such a fantastic sort of hallmark, I think, of our profession, that we're so keen, eager and able to be there to support and work with each other. It's a really fantastic profession, as I say, to be involved in. If you want to subscribe to the UK EduStories channel, you can do so at that shortened link there. I wanted to do a big shout out as well to head teachers, though. Here's a great example of a head teacher, Chris Dyson, who really spearheaded things moving forward at the start of lockdown, providing free meals. This was before the government actually said that the free meals will still be available for those disadvantaged families here in the UK. But a real, as it says here, hashtag community hero is Chris Dyson. Well worth a follow on Twitter as well if you're not already. Another big shout out for another head teacher, here, Vic Goddard. He was the head teacher in the first series of the Educating series on Channel 4, Educating Essex. He's Vic Goddard on Twitter. But again, we saw that initiative from Chris being really spearheaded and pushed further by Marcus Rashford from Man United. I'm not going to get involved in the whole football conversation, but a huge mural being added to the wall at Passmore School in Essex in recognition and inspiring young people to have the same sort of vision and values that Marcus showed under lockdown. And that's a real reflection of how Vic is in his leadership in the school as well. Someone else who's been absolutely fantastic during the whole of lockdown is this gentleman here, who has been absolutely fantastic. And Jeff, and why am I forgetting his surname now while I'm presenting? He has been absolutely, he's the leader of the Association for Schools and College Leaders. But he's been a head teacher for many, 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 many years, and has been really key in supporting teachers and schools and leaders during the course of the lockdown. Why I can't remember his surname now. Don't let me. Jeff Barton. There we go. Don't Call It Literacy is a book he wrote, which is also really, really good. But we see the leadership coming through really, really clearly. And if you've been involved in leadership and seen some of the things that have been coming out from the DFE during the course of lockdown here in the UK, it's been coming out on a daily, sometimes bi-daily basis with the advice that we've had to respond to. And, I don't work in schools anymore full time, but my goodness, like, I really feel for all of these people in leadership. If you have to sort of contend with and deal with all of this throughout lockdown, it's been absolutely, again, a fantastic job done by all, but under the most difficult of circumstances. We've seen some great initiatives come about during this time as well. This one from Toria Claire on Twitter. And today is Tuesday. If you check the hashtag Tiny Voice Tuesday Unite, it's a fantastic initiative to bring teachers together who don't have much of a network, a professional learning network. There's a huge initiative. If you look at that hashtag today, you'll see loads and loads on there about teachers sort of coming together and working together and uniting to support each other. Fantastic initiatives, again, such as this one from Ivo Hanan from Dubai. Global Staff Room Sunday. Been so many fantastic hallmarks of what a great profession teaching is, and something that I'm so proud to be engaged and involved with. And again, a huge shout out to Frog as well. They've been absolutely, instrumental in making sure that learning has happened in so many schools. So some schools who took up Frog's offer, you can see it here announced on Twitter back in March, access to Frog Play. Some schools have actually continued because of access to Frog during this time as well. That wouldn't have otherwise happened without it. Engineers make bridges, artists make paintings, scientists make rockets. But the thing is, teachers make all of those things. So that's my little presentation. There's so many reasons to be cheerful. The tweet from your seat competition today, it was my pleasure to see these tweets coming out. The winner is, well, actually, before we go to the winner, I wanted to do a second place, and maybe we could work out a little prize for this, but because check this out, Sarah Hazel has actually been engaging with and taking part in the conference today from her holiday, giving up her actual holiday time. I don't know if she was actually using her phone under the water there with her scuba gear on, but I was so impressed with her commitment there, Sarah, so thank you so much for engaging with everything today. And then the actual winner, though, and if you want to do a little virtual drum roll, the winner is... Oh, only kidding, it's not me. The real winner is, and I was so, I did a proper laugh out loud. It's not very often when you type LOL, you do actually laugh out loud. But when I did see this tweet from Nikki Taylor, I thought, well, we're really reaching the full audience here today. So congratulations to Nikki there for that tweet, and congratulations to you for that prize. And I'm sure Lucy and the team will be in touch about how to organise that. And I understand that Nina has donated some prizes as well into the pot as well with all of that. Thank you so much, everybody, for such a fantastic event today. It's been really, really fantastic and a real privilege to be involved with. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.